majority of my life abroad, and I'm back home since February, basically. And I founded an association called Hasekura program in 2013 in Barcelona, where I used to live. And my job consists I would define myself as a social entrepreneur, or as I've been defined as a transition designer. So I work in designing a more sustainable society. And I organize specialized study tours for entrepreneurs that work in sustainability, also internship programs and different projects and programs for mainly for entrepreneurs, but also for students or local authorities, etc.
Thank you, Renata. Callie, please.
Hi everyone, my name is Callie Teague and I am 19 years old. I'm a student at the University of Oregon studying international business. I'm originally from Los Angeles, California, which is where I am right now, completing this internship. But yeah, I'm just really happy to be here, excited for the day. Yeah.
Thank you guys. Thank you for the introduction. So as the title already says, we're going to be talking about a day in the life of remote internships. The main focus today will be talking about the differences between in-person, traditional and remote internships. We will also talk about the structure of remote internships and other advantages or disadvantages to this kind of type of work experiences. To start this conversation, Callie, do you have any previous experiences prior to your time at Hasekura?
Yeah, so I really hadn't had a traditional internship experience before this. I'm only going into my second year at university, so kind of new to the whole job scene. But in high school, I did have a kind of job shadow experience where I got a lot of experience doing graphic design work, website design, things like that. So that has kind of helped me out with being able to use that towards this internship now. But other than that, this was kind of my first go at the whole internship
first time thing, so.
Yeah.
So why did you even apply for a remote internship? Where did this idea came from?
Yeah, well, I actually was already going to be a part of Absolute Internship this summer prior to COVID-19. I was going to be actually in Barcelona working with an NGO over there. And so when that kind of didn't really go to plan this summer with everything that went down, I just really wanted to still be a part of something, even if I was on the complete opposite side of the world. I also really just knew that I wasn't going to have a lot to do this summer being quarantined. And so I just thought this would be a perfect opportunity to still get some work experience even from home. So yeah, that's why I decided to do it.
So you just went for it, the internship. That's cool. Okay, Renata, so you briefly said that you also have, internship placements. Were you the direct manager of these students, or how did it go with Hasekura?
One of the programs included in my project is educating students to think in a more sustainable way. So the internship program has always been part of our organization. So we did we had the students from the University of Barcelona when I was based in Barcelona. They would do like their semester as interns. Then I had special programs designed for international students when I was based in Japan. And so, well, I've never actually done a remote internship, but I mean, it's just a question of organizing the job, the work that you would need to have done. And so I thought I could do this as well. And I usually am the tutor as well of the students, because I think I have the best vision of what's needed and how to complete the different tasks, and also because I like actually teaching to students and to think alternatively.
Well, that's great. So would you say there is a different style of delegating work compared, to the traditional internships that you had before? and now with Callie, the remote one?
On the field, real, let's say, internship and virtual internship are slightly different. Of course, there isn't a physical contact within the students. I'm not sure how tall is Callie. For the rest, I know her face. I know that she's very energetic, but yeah, I mean, it's different, of course, because it's not physical. She's not there. She's not able to see things around her. She's not able to see the place where we're actually working. But for the rest, as I said before, it's just a question of getting organized and to get things done. Yeah. So I planned her job, what she could do, and how she, then I do the follow-up as well of the tasks.
Yeah. So you say that the physical aspect is the biggest difference of a remote and an in-person one, right?
Of course, I suppose it depends on the internship that you do, but in our case, yeah, the physical, the distance, the real distance, and the fact that she's not here is the main difference. Other than that, I mean, Hasekura is an association organization that works with Japan. So this time, the first time that the content, because of my personal situation at the moment, because I'm based in Sicily and I'm working in my reintegration with the local community, also the contents this time are not related to Japan. So that's the other main difference, which makes for me, for the internship to be perhaps more flexible, because usually I would need students that have a special interest in Japan or can speak Japanese. So this is not the case this time. So we're dealing with a different part of the world. Yeah, and apart of the physical distance, which means that perhaps Callie cannot really get the real feel of the place. So we are, for example, dealing and talking about the problems related to over-tourism, which I suppose is not an issue at all in the area where she lives. If she had been here with me, she would understand what I mean by over-tourism, what is meant by over-tourism, or gentrification of city centers, etc. She's writing articles on this, so she's been going through the literature also, because in many cities in touristic destination in Europe, over-tourism and gentrification are huge issues. Well, at least they were before COVID. So if she was here, she would be understanding directly what is meant, because the city is crowded again. Other than that, I think remotely you can do a good job as well.
Yes. What's your opinion on that, Callie? I mean, you've said you don't have like a legit internship before, but what would you say is the main difference between those two types of
well, I definitely think that this particular experience has mimicked a lot of that in-person kind of connection as best as we could. Renata and I have been interviewing with local people in the community, which has been amazing. So I kind of feel like I get to meet people from Sicily, even though I'm so far. Even we've been trading emails back and forth sometimes in Spanish, because I was supposed to be in Spain this summer. She's helping me practice my Spanish. So, there's things like that. We meet every week over Skype. So I feel like there are a lot of ways that you can make it work if you're willing and if you're motivated to do so. But of course, there's like that in-person connection to the culture, to the community, just even the experience of traveling there that I was really looking forward to that won't happen. But there's always next summer. So that's kind of my attitude for this whole thing. It's definitely a great interim solution to this kind of COVID problem. But yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of ways to make it work. So it feels a lot more engaging than you might initially think.
You basically already answered a few of my questions. So I guess, like you said, you wanted to come to Barcelona to discover different cultures. And having like this international remote internship, my question would be, can you actually feel the cultural differences? I mean, Renata is Italian and her company is based in Barcelona. Do you feel working with her that you can actually get this experience? even though you're like based in the US and,
Oh,
she's
absolutely. I actually think this week we had a pretty fun experience. I'm sure she knows exactly what I'm talking about. We met with the president of one of the NGOs that we are working with, and literally spent about 30 minutes of our meeting just going around and saying our hopes and dreams for the internship, and just like how they want to influence my life and plant a seed in me that'll flourish beyond this. And it's just, you don't get those kind of experiences in the States. At least I sure haven't in my 19 years so far. I really feel like that was kind of an experience that kind of solidified, like, okay, I'm still being able to interact with Europeans. I'm still having this cool experience where I'm getting to meet people and they're actually influencing my life, not only just giving me, incredible work experience that I can use for my resume and in my future career, but actually feeling like I have had a connection with these people. So that was really just an incredible experience. And yeah, I definitely feel like I've still been able to connect with people, even though it's not exactly what everyone initially thought was going to happen this summer. Yeah.
That's great. What do you think, Renata? Because, your business specializes on, local, rural SMEs. And I think culture is a big part of your business. Do you think you could convey the cultural differences to Callie as you would love have to do if you were in there in person?
Yeah, as I said, I mean, of course, virtuality will not substitute for a while reality. So it's not as good as it could have been, possibly. But on the other hand, I also think that if she was able to do her internship in Barcelona, she wouldn't have been working with me because I'm based in Sicily at the moment. So being virtual is an advantage. So that she could get to know the different reality. Also, we did this real interviews. We're having another interview next week. We're doing interviews for the new website or for the Facebook page of one of the organizations I'm working with. So she's actually able to ask questions to real people that are working in a real place. And I think also like the first interview we did was inspiring. It was inspiring for me. It was nice also to do this online meeting with the president of Laboratorio Sicilia 2030, who happened to get married in a town like 45 minutes away from where Callie lives.
Oh, really?
So when you don't really think that you could do that during a normal internship. And I don't know. I mean, I think virtuality has got its own advantages as well, and we are lucky that we have Zoom and Skype and emails. I also want to mention the fact that maybe if we were in a real internship, perhaps I don't know, the work schedule would be more flexible, because you have also the the involvement in the local life, in the daily life of the community, which is what happened also with the students that I had before. For example, I had students in Japan, and then they got involved in local festivals while they were doing internship, and while at the same time you do like the normal work schedule, like the research, the visits, etc. But in this way, we're also planning things. So as Callie briefly mentioned, we have set a weekly meeting on Mondays. So she has from Monday till Friday to sort out or to do all the tasks that I gave her. And if she has any doubts, she can email me, or we can, usually we email. So I think we're pretty much under control.
Yeah. Okay, you already touched things that I want to be talking like in a few minutes. Okay, let's go back a bit. Callie, it's a question for you. I think many students are very curious about how a remote internship actually looks like. Like you said, you've done internships before, so you go to the office from Monday to Friday, you see your teammates and everything. So how would you say is the internship structured at Hasekura? Just guide us through your typical week and what are your tasks,
Totally. So as Renata kind of mentioned just now, we meet every Monday. So it's really perfect the way that we structure the time that we meet, because it's at 5:30 her time, PM, and 8:30 in the morning my time. So beginning of my week, kind of the end of her first day. So she's kind of figured out what she would like for me to do that week and what kind of things that she'll need for me to do for the organizations we're working with. So that's perfect. Start the Monday morning, knowing what we're doing. And then we usually try to kind of email about it prior to that meeting so that we can sort through any confusion. If I like misunderstand something in the email, then we kind of go over that. So that's usually our opportunity to talk about those things. So that's really great. And then throughout the week, I just kind of go about my tasks. I just kind of manage my time, so it definitely requires a lot of discipline and motivation in order to be able to do an internship like this, because you don't really have someone over your shoulder checking up on you. But for me personally, I was like so excited to do this internship that I just have been going for it. It's been really fun to kind of see how much more I can do each day. So that's been really exciting so far. But other than that, it's definitely kind of a work at your own pace sort of thing, but within the deadlines, of course, that you've been given. So typically our deadlines just kind of within that calendar week, Monday through Friday. But yeah, I try to get things done as soon as possible.
That's
it's always
good
good to be proactive.
That's perfect for Renata, so she doesn't have to crack the whip all the time. Okay, this leads to the question, like, how is your communication? So you have like a set schedule. Mondays you meet for a Google Hangouts meeting, and in between, are you using different channels like Slack? Or for instance, if you get like this new task, Callie, and you encounter some problems or questions, are you like hesitant to reach out to your supervisor? Or if Renata, for instance, sees like, okay, Callie is not on the right track, are you reaching out to her? Or how do you, do this?
We usually, if we do have to communicate kind of questions like that, typically happens through email, which the time difference, even though it seems like 9 hours is a huge difference, it doesn't feel that different, because I feel like we get back to each other pretty quickly. So that really isn't too much of an issue, but honestly, we haven't really run into a lot of difficulties in terms of communication, just because I feel like the way that we've kind of structured the whole system of like discussing what we want to talk about in the meeting and then working it out in the meeting, and then beyond that we don't really tack on a ton outside of those meeting times where we can talk face to face about it. So I think that kind of does eliminate some of those difficulties in terms of communication, which is great, because yeah, I definitely, if I were jumping into a remote internship, I'd be like, how in the world are you going to communicate with your boss? That doesn't make sense. But yeah, we definitely made it work, and it's been great so far. So definitely excited that that has been working well.
What do you think, Renata?
The communication is not an issue at all. I'd like to mention the fact that I was very lucky because Callie is very active and very efficient. Of course, you don't expect from a 19 years old second year university student to be, a Nobel Prize first, someone who can, sort out all kind of issues for a company. So you of course, you measure the task that you give her according to her capabilities, abilities, and knowledge. But she's just amazing. So she does all the things that I ask her to do. She's even too fast to doing them. Sometimes I'm in trouble. So I'm like, okay, please slow down because I have no time to check this. We usually, as I said, we meet on Skype, then we email each other, and then we share documents on Google Docs. So if, for example, she's written articles, a couple of articles, interview and an article, and so I write down my comments or I correct part of it on like a tutor would do. And then she corrects or when we discuss, like, for example, she wrote this article on over-tourism, and I said, I don't really like the end of it, because it seems like you were, trying to finish the article as soon as possible. So elaborate on this and use that and read this article and the other one. And I shared some Facebook group that specialized in over-tourism with her, so she joined them. So I think she's becoming pretty knowledgeable on the topic, on a topic that she didn't know before. So internet-based communication tools are pretty good. But as Callie said, in order for this internship to work, you need to be self-motivated. I mean, if you expect me to be there and pushing you every day to do what I need you to do, I mean, that would be very difficult for me and boring for her, and it wouldn't work.
Yeah, I think you would lose a lot of time if you have to be, looking over an intern's shoulder all the time. So what's your opinion? What's better? Which communication is better? In like, if you have the intern in your office, or actually with Callie now via the internet?
I have to say that I don't have an office. I haven't had an office for years now. My office is my Mac, and wherever there's a Wi-Fi connection or even my mobile phone, that's my office. So I usually say when I walk around with my PC, with my Mac, I always say that that's the most important part of my life, apart from my children. That's if I lose my PC, then I'm done. So I mean, we live in 2020, so. Working remotely and from everywhere, it's easy. I mean, and I've done this. I've worked remotely not only with intern students, I mean, not with intern students, but with my colleagues for years now. So I've used to travel, like to commute, as I said, between Barcelona and Japan every 2 months for 2 weeks. So I would use internet online meetings all the time, and that's just normal. I'm also used to the time difference. The only difference is now I am ahead of her. Usually I am either back if I'm in Europe with Japan, or the other way around. So it's not a major issue. So
you're already a pro, basically.
Exactly.
The situation didn't hit you too hard in that kind of term. Okay, that's really interesting to know. So I think many universities are very curious about how you actually evaluate the work progress, like if you have an intern, you give them a task at the beginning of the week, you can always watch them, see if they're making mistakes or not. How is your evaluation process between you guys?
I mean, I think I cannot be. I mean, this is not a university course. This is an internship period of 2 months. So I asked at the beginning of absolute internship if I had to do an evaluation at the end of it, because usually you have to. They said yes, that I will have to, and I will do, because the internship is not finished. I cannot say, but don't tell Callie, but my evaluation will be just excellent. So I doubt that she will change radically now for the rest of the internship. So I'm sure that the evaluation process will be smooth, and the evaluation result very, very good, excellent.
Yes. Callie, do you think this is something missing? Like, would you like to have an evaluation process at the end of the week? Like, if you're gonna, let's say Renata says, please design this logo, please write this article, you want to have like a grade, or you want to have more feedback, or do you prefer like an overall, evaluation? Like, okay, this is the goal of the internship and you've reached it.
Yeah, I definitely think I would prefer the overall internship, because at least coming from my perspective as a university student, when I think grade, I think school. So like that just would kind of change my my motivations in being there, or like would change how I would work, or like change I don't know. I feel like just the structure of going about school is completely different from that of a workplace environment. It's definitely more collaborative in a workplace environment. We kind of bounce ideas back off each other. I get to meet with business owners, things like that. There's not always necessarily concrete things to evaluate, I feel like, as there would be in a school or university course. So that's why I think definitely the end of internship evaluation is probably preferable, just because I feel like I can actually go about my job like any other intern. I could actually immerse myself in this kind of new experience, and yeah, just see how I did at the end. So I would definitely say at the end is probably better.
So you like the independent kind of aspect of this?
Absolutely.
Of course. I mean, it's very needed to grow as a professional as well, to know that the manager is trusting in you and like, okay, fly and do your job.
Exactly.
An evaluation every time I assign a task. Of course, I give her my feedback, so she knows whether she's done well or should improve. I mean, but you don't have to put notes on each task. It will be wouldn't be nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. So my next question would be, what do you think, who is the ideal candidate for this kind of remote internship? Because Renata is super happy with Callie. She is, you know, self-motivated. She's handling everything in time. But who do you think is, like, what are the skills that a student needs to have, and who would not be the ideal candidate, in your opinion, Renata?
Yeah, self-motivation is absolutely necessary because yeah, you are far away. You're not included in a work environment. Everything is virtual. So if you're not motivated and if you don't want to do the internship, it's best if you don't do it, actually. Also because usually, I mean, I'm a social entrepreneur and I work with NGOs, which doesn't mean that my time is less valuable than people that make cars, you know. So for me, it's extra work to tutor Callie, even if she's very efficient. So unless she wasn't this efficient, it wouldn't be a problem for me. So you need really students that are self-motivated, they are really interested, they are curious, they're able to go a little farther than the task they have assigned them. They are also able to suggest things. For example, she suggested different website providers. She gives me feedback on fees, or without even asking. Or I ask her to do a logo for this organization, and you know, she also chose an interesting color that reminds the stones of the city. She did the website by herself and translated it. I gave her a text in Italian just to give her an idea of what length of text we will put in the website, and she translated it all in English. She looked for pictures of a city that she had never seen in her life, and I had told her, in a way, I will send you some pictures that I've taken. And no, she looked for them, and also, yeah, pictures that had no copyrights, whatever. So this is the kind of people you really want to work with, because sometimes I even feel bad that I haven't done it as much as she's doing. So I have to send her email sometimes in the night. Sorry, I'm really sorry, Callie, I didn't have time to check, but please give me some more time. So it's the other way around. I feel pressure.
So self-motivation is a big thing, and I guess time management as well, you know, because there are like deadlines.
And curiosity, interest in what you're doing. I mean, because she makes me feel like the things that the tasks that I'm giving her are of her interest, and that's important.
What do you think, Callie? What is yeah.
Oh, sorry. I definitely agree. I definitely think this is kind of a very unique opportunity if it's something you want. And I mean, really want, because everything Renata said, I completely agree with. It is definitely something that requires a lot of discipline. No one's going to be over your shoulder making sure you're doing everything. But for me, I definitely think what you just said, Renata, is true. I really am interested in these things. So it requires a sense of not only just motivation because of your career, but also like, what are you passionate about? Like, what makes you excited to learn? You know, what were you looking for this summer if COVID-19 didn't happen? I was really looking forward to going abroad and not being in the States for the entire summer, so I could get, you know, kind of a new experience. So if you're open to that, and if that's what you're looking for, this is literally like the perfect opportunity for you in the climate that we're living in right now, because there's no way that in May, when the world is falling apart and I found out my study abroad was canceled, there's no way I could have envisioned that I would be able to be writing articles for organizations in Italy on the other side of the world. Like, never in a million years would I thought that I'd be able to do that. So it's definitely something that is perfect for the time that we're living in, if you're motivated for it.
Of course. You should always be motivated, actually.
This is true.
Okay, so I mean, you've been doing this remote internship now for 4 weeks, am I correct?
About
so,
that.
Yeah, about that time. What do you think are the advantages and disadvantages of doing this remote internship? I think we've covered a few points, but could you summarize it again?
Yeah, so advantages, definitely flexibility. I'm also, you know, because of COVID-19 and me being quarantined with my family, I decided to take a couple university courses this summer in addition to this internship to get ahead on some credit. So that's been great. Just the flexibility that I've even been able to do both school and an internship. I never would have thought I'd been able to do those two, but with COVID, it's definitely allowed that kind of flexibility. Also, just the ability to, you know, interact with people from completely different backgrounds from me. I think, you know, I am an out-of-state student at my university, but I'm just north. So a lot of students, even from my school when I'm out of state, are from where I'm from, you know, so I'm kind of used to being around people from, if not similar backgrounds, at least who think similarly to me, who have similar ideas, similar experiences. So to be able to be thrown into an environment where I'm bringing in the new experiences, that was a really cool opportunity. Definitely the disadvantage, I would say, is just the lack of the ability to be there. But I think too, I am coming from a program in my university where I was going to study abroad this summer. You know, I was like planning to go abroad multiple times in my university experience, regardless of COVID. So for me, that's really what I was looking forward to, just going to college in general. So I know I'm kind of in a different place than most students who maybe weren't looking to go abroad or didn't have time to go abroad. So even for students who are kind of in that category where they weren't necessarily thinking of ever going abroad, this could be a great opportunity to still kind of mimic that international experience without physically being there. So it's definitely whatever you were looking for. The disadvantage would be that because I don't feel like there's a lot of necessarily stark disadvantages about this sort of experience aside from that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for sharing this. What do you think, Renata, from a host company perspective? What are the advantages and disadvantages for you?
The disadvantage, as I mentioned before, is the fact that I'm sorry for Callie that she cannot see the real world around here. That's basically the main disadvantage. And the main advantage for both of us is that we were able to meet and to work together because of the remoteness of our internship. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been working for me. So other than that, I think I'm, you know, it's yeah, there's no much really. I've already mentioned the things that I think are a good point and maybe a disadvantage. And the disadvantage of not being here, it can be overcome next year. So I know that she will be coming. So.
Hopefully to Barcelona and then to Sicily. Discover all the cultures here in Europe.
Everything, everywhere in Europe.
Exactly, everywhere. Okay, thank you guys for sharing your insights and your thoughts on the questions that I've asked. I would like to wrap up this webinar, and if anyone has questions, please feel free to, you know, drop them in the chat box, and I think Callie and Renata are very happy to answer them. For Renata, how many hours per week on average did you dedicate to preparing Callie's work?
Wow, that's very technical. It depends. I mean, I usually wait for Callie to hand in her work by Friday. And then usually Saturday or Sunday, I sit down, I read everything, I check, and then I send her an email, a feedback email back. Or during the week, if there are other things coming up, I check them. So, I don't know what. Altogether, depends on the week. Maybe 3 hours, 4 hours. It depends. It's writing on the mail. Then we have this half an hour meeting on Monday. Then of course you have to read what she's written or plan. I mean, it's not that I'm thinking of her only on Monday at 5:30. I think about the job that we have to do. And so I for example, today I met someone, the owner of a bookshop, a very old bookshop in the city center. And I thought that this person would be the perfect interview for one of our Facebook page articles. So I did the arrangement for a meeting. But I don't check how many minutes that takes. So there isn't like a minimum or a maximum time that I would devote to our internship.
Okay, thank you, Renata. From Ayush, the question is, what was the internship process like getting an internship?
Well, that's kind of a twofold question because I kind of went through the process before COVID. So I interviewed for this internship back in January. And I found out that I was admitted to the program, was going to Barcelona in February. And I didn't yet have my contact for which NGO I was working with, but I knew I was going to be with an NGO there. The interview process was pretty simple, but definitely involved, like definitely kind of an experience that is only worth it if you want to do it, because there were several different interview steps. I don't know if this was just my university, but we had to interview at the university office prior to even interviewing with Absolute. So there was kind of like a multiple different steps there. So definitely helped prepare you for that interview with Absolute. But yeah, it definitely required you actually wanting to go and, you know, choosing to actually follow through with it. But it was really helpful, I think, because when I went to my university office, they gave me pointers on how I could fix my resume and make it better for when I ultimately provided that to my employer. So that was super helpful to be able to do it through my university. If you're able to do that and your university partners with Absolute, that's a great opportunity. Otherwise, I'm sure you can just go to your career center and they would help you with that. But as far as when COVID happened, we kind of were just like, we initially had our internship date moved back a little bit and we were kind of waiting to see. Then that didn't end up working out. And then it was kind of just like, oh, if you would like to still participate in an internship experience, we can forward your application to the remote program. So that's when that came in. So I didn't really interview for the remote program. My application was more so just forwarded. But actually worked out very well because I initially was going to be working with just an NGO because that's where my interest was when I was in my second term of my freshman year in college. But college, you're always learning new things about yourself and your interests and what, you know, excites you. And I took a class in my spring term during COVID, a business class that I absolutely fell in love with and decided to declare my major as international business. So kind of crazy how that worked out, because without even telling Absolute or anyone, I ended up getting placed with Renata, who literally has made her career based around international business and sustainable business practices, which is what I want to do. So it really worked out perfectly for me. I couldn't have asked for a better kind of craziness that all fell together. But yeah, it definitely was a smooth process overall.
Yes, I think the current situation, you know, sets some limits, but it also opens up a lot of opportunities, as you can see with the relationship between Callie and Renata. We have another question. Let's see. Another one from Rachel for Callie. Did you feel adequately challenged by the projects that were assigned to you by Hasekura, or did you occasionally have to advocate for more complex work?
I definitely don't think I had to worry about being challenged. I think, if anything, I mean, obviously this isn't possible with necessarily a remote experience, but my kind of stereotype coming into an internship was that I was going to be, you know, fetching the coffee, for lack of a better word. But, you know, I thought I'd be kind of doing just little tasks here and there. But I've literally been able to create a website. I've been able to like create subtitles for videos that I put out for members of the community talking about who I am, what I'm doing. So that's been so cool. I definitely don't think I've had to worry about being challenged. I think Renata kind of touched on this, but it's kind of more seeing what you can handle as you go. I definitely think the beginning of my internship, we were kind of just doing more simple things, getting to know each other and my skill set. And then when I kind of proved to Renata that I could do more, I was assigned more tasks. So it's definitely flexible and kind of prove that you can work.
Yes. Okay, wait. Other questions. So Callie, what might you say to future employers about honing your skill sets and getting to know your own work process better through this experience? Or how you are grateful better for it for overcoming uncertainty and disappointment over your in-person placement to fully take advantage of this remote opportunity?
Yeah, I definitely think this was kind of a textbook. What do you do if you don't know what to do and everything doesn't go to plan? Yeah, COVID-19, I'm sure for every single person here was scary and overwhelming and brought about a lot of unknowns. And I definitely think that this kind of brought out a sort of resilience in me I didn't know that I had, because you know, I thought I was going home for my spring break in college, ended up moving out. So that was a total bummer. And then just the uncertainty of, you know, when we were initially postponing my in-person internship of, oh my gosh, now I have to change my flights. And there was just so much anxiety about the whole thing. But I definitely think this is a situation I'm really proud that I feel like I've kind of taken, or life gave me lemons, I made lemonade. So I definitely think this was an opportunity to, you know, use a not ideal experience and try to make something great out of it. So I think that this has really helped me, I guess just my character, honestly, my grit has really grown from this experience, and, you know, I feel like I'm stronger for it. So just on a personal level, I feel like I'm a stronger person. And then I think my skills, obviously, just with work experience, my skills have gotten better as well. But more so the character is what matters.
That's great to hear. Okay, I have one question for Renata. So would you recommend remote internship experience after COVID?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I mean, it's not bad. I mean, if you cannot be physically in a place, it's a good experience anyway. It's cheaper, I would say. It's not exactly the same, but it's a good experience. I mean, yeah. I mean, remotely you can learn things anyway. Otherwise, you know, there wouldn't be any online courses at university either. So it's on the job experience, but a virtual one. So definitely, yes.
So you will definitely take another online intern in again for Hasekura?
Yes, yes, why not? But it has to be like Callie, so.
The standards are very high now. The standards are high now. Okay, thank you, Renata. Anyone else? Any more questions? Another one. For Renata, what tips or advice do you have for organizations interested in offering remote internships for the first time?
Well, being open-minded, I would say, being flexible. Don't expect too much from a student. I mean, each student is different. As I said, like 10 times, Callie is fantastic, but not all students are like Callie. I had very good students before as well. I had students that had to do their internship program because it was part of the graduation process. So they could not graduate unless they did an internship. So within those students, there were those that were really, really motivated and those that needed to do the hours. And so they would do the minimum necessary to get an evaluation at the end of the whatever 200 hours of internship. Some of the students, for example, when I was based in Barcelona, actually, I had one student that was supposed to do her internship on her 4th year before graduation, and she asked to do the internship on the 3rd. She stayed for the 4th year of university, and then after graduation, she basically still works with me sometimes. So, I mean, it's important that the student is motivated. At the same time, I think it's important to treat the student not as Callie was mentioning, not just to give. To pour coffee in the office, but to be involved and to give them responsibility, to be able to understand their limits and their abilities, and at the same time to challenge them a bit. And if they're not able to do the things you're asking them, then readjust, the tasks, or supporting them in the challenge. So yeah. It's kind of teaching. You don't have to pretend too much. It's like teaching, but if you're a good student, then use the student skills to their best.
Thank you, Renata, for the answer. I also agree that you need to adjust these things. And most importantly, though, in order to grow as a professional, you need to venture out and challenge yourself. And that's what you're giving Callie this opportunity. And I mean, she's taking it, she's researching on her own and everything. So really glad that this worked out between you guys. Okay, one more question. Anyone? That's the minute. Thank you, Rachel, for the comment.
Just kind of to touch on this that Amy mentioned. So you can do an absolute internship outside your university, but they have university partners. So if you're university partners with them, definitely I would say go to your university office. It's probably a better experience in that way, because they can really give you insight on, you know, how Absolute works right there on your campus. You can do mock interviews there. So that's a great opportunity. But again, I kind of touched on that earlier, but even if your university doesn't offer it, the Career Center is definitely always an option to help out with your Absolute internship. But yeah, you can do it either way.
Yeah. So if your university is not partnering with Absolute Internship yet, we will prepare you for, you know, the initial job interviews that you have to go through. We're gonna help you with your LinkedIn profile as well. Basically, we're gonna give you free career development sessions, because well, our placement team is very experienced. They know what recruiters are looking for. So they are trying to, you know, help you and selling yourself in the correct way, because we've got students that are, let's say, studying biology, but they're really interested in entrepreneurship. How do you sell this, you know, like with this kind of CV? So we are preparing you enough. Don't worry, like before you're gonna head into like a job interview. Okay, I think that's all. Okay, thank you guys. Thank you so much, Callie and Renata, for taking the time to talk to me and presenting in front of so many people. I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. To everyone else, please don't forget to subscribe to the other webinars that are upcoming, and you will receive a recording tomorrow for sure. Thank you very much.
Thank you guys so much.
Have a nice evening. Bye.
Thank you.